how do I talk with Japanese people? Ari, you're so Japanese. It was my goal.
東京が大好きなんですよ。飲みに行く。居酒屋。
So, to understand the general meaning of like living abroad.
なんで文化を理解することが大事なのかっていうのを私たちの経験を踏まえて今日はお伝えできればと思います。アリは日本に来て3年ぐらいかなもうね。
So, I know almost 4 years, yo.
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
His Japanese って、It's not textbook Japanese ね。
Zero.
教科書の日本語じゃないんですよね。
Zero.
というのも、ランゲージスクールとか行ってません。この
行ってません。
私も英語に関しては行ってません。
行ってません。
じゃあなんでこんなに今みたいに
行ってません。
みたいなイントネーションとか、とりあえず生でとかさ、
そう
こういう
そう
とかもすごい日本人っぽくできるんですよね。そこの背景には You experience a lot of culture でしょ。
Exactly. So this is what we're talking about today.
はい。
I want to start it off very important point that I learned during the time being in Japan. So the first important point that you guys need to know is you have to be open for it.
Open for it.
Try to forget where you come from, not your personality, right? I always say to my members, like an empty glass. Let it fill with like new things all the time. Like actually not a glass, but be a barrel. And then every time you learn something, and if you're open to it, as soon as something new comes to the barrel, it's like filling up slowly. So my European barrel is full. I was born and raised there.
そうだね。
In Japan, I'm like a 4-year-old child. In terms of like the learning process, I feel like I'm still like a far way ahead. And then that's something that as a foreigner in another country you have to accept. You cannot know everything from the beginning, but you have to be open. And that's kind of like brings us to the next point, which is being open opens opportunities, and those opportunities you have to take. It's a question to you, Natsu-san.
Okay.
So how much did you know about American culture before you went to America?
No, at all. I used to watch Disney Channel, like those like American TV show a little bit. So I knew a little bit from there. けど it's like TV show だから it's not real.
わかる？
わかる？アニメみたいな。
アニメでしょ？
そう。アニメとか見てるから maybe you knew like
くんとちゃんと
オラみたいな。
そう。
でも it's not real.
It's not real. Not at all.
そう。
Behavior もね。
そう、だから私も見てたものとしたら like American high school life, which is not really real or something like that.
That's what I mean. Like forget about everything before you go somewhere. Like just start from zero. So when I came to Japan, I saw like a lot of anime everywhere, and I was like, oh, naka sugoi. Like I imagined, and then you talk with members on the table. It's like, who likes anime? Who reads manga? When I was 6 years old, or when I was 10, like, I thought everyone in Japan reads manga. So that's kind of like the first thing that I realized is like, okay, I have to forget everything that I thought I knew, and I have to start kind of like learning what Japanese people actually do. So what do Japanese people actually do? They work. Right? A lot. And work means a lot in Japan. In order to understand a different culture, you have to learn their work ethics. How do they work? What's their point of view in terms of punctuality? Do people talk about money? Do they talk about their jobs? Those are things that you have to learn from people in the country, because here it's very different from America and very different from Europe. Like I said before, in the scale, interest opens opportunities, and then the opportunities open up questions actually. And then you have to understand, okay, so I have the opportunity to meet Japanese people, or maybe for you guys I have the opportunity to meet European people. So now I have to understand what's their mindset on work. What do they do in their free time? What are they watching in television? And how can I, as somebody who is new to the country, adapt to that? Do I fit to that? Can I match to that? If not, then you have to try harder, I guess. Okay, so now we understand the work ethic. So I understood that while I was in Japan, that work means a lot. You have to be punctual. People don't like to talk about money that much, maybe just in a jokingly way. And then you just start a conversation about that. So as soon as you understand how the communication in the work environment works, you can expand that to the private, right? So what do people like to do after work, Natsu, in Japan?
飲みに行く。居酒屋。
そう。
お疲れ様でした。
お疲れ様でした。 let's go to izakaya, let's eat some yakitori, toriaizu nama. This is something I didn't know. I always saw it on television and I thought like izakaya looks so cool, looks like super nice and fine, but I didn't know it was a very, very important part of the culture. And because it just happened to be that I like drinking, I was like, I want to know more about that. So you see, now I understood the working culture. And then I expanded to what do people do after work? Collectively, not individually. Collectively, they like to go to the izakaya. So now my journey started actually in Japan, right? Because now I want to become part of something that people talk about every day. So if I say a sentence like toriaizu nama, everybody starts laughing. Sugoi, how do you know that?
そうだよね。
I know that because I was interested in it and I said it and it surprised people, so they taught me more. Ah, sugoi, you really like Japan, eh? Like, how do you know that? Do you know about this? Do you know about that? And then slowly you adapt to that, so that's kind of like the second step. Anyway, so you got the cycle, you got work, you understood. You got what they're doing after work, you understood. Now, in order to become like a functional part of society, you have to understand how does society work. So what's the most important part of society in a culture and in a country? So if you go abroad to America, I guess openness.
Openness is really, really important.
Really important, and you should be always open to talk to people. Well, I'm in Japan. Important part of being fundamental part of society in Japan is being polite and respecting others. It's not about me, it's about us. So I have to be quiet in the train because of all of us, not because of me. And that's something I needed a long time to understand. And now I understand. Now I hear foreigners in the train talking and I'm like, you know, because I became part of that culture. So in Japan, politeness and respect is very, very different from politeness and respect abroad. So in order to adapt to a culture, you have to understand how to respect other people in their culture. Maybe if I go to Egypt or Africa or whatever, there's another respect form, and kind of like almost like the last step of that. So as soon as you understand respect and as soon as you understand work and what do people do after work and how to communicate with them, well, actually now it starts like, how do I talk with Japanese people? Well, I can say konnichiwa. That's not enough to talk to them. So I have to find ways to interact with people. It starts from body language. So when I enter the room, hey guys, what's up? Hey, minasan, konnichiwa. I don't do that. That's weird. So you enter the room in a Japanese way. For example, you enter the room and you greet people in a very different way. You start bowing and you introduce yourself, and the energy is different. So the only way to learn the different energy is to watch what other people do. Because the only teacher is the people that you look at. In no school in the world, people will say, yeah.
言わないね。だってないもん、教科書に。
So, yeah, とか、I don't learn that in school. But if I do that, the person acts like me, so I feel more comfortable communicating with them. Because I'm part of it. So I guess some episodes kind of to wrap it up is my first experience I had. The word otsukaresama was a very important part of like, for me, becoming part of Japanese culture. The first time I said it, the very first time, and I was preparing in my brain.
I'm gonna say お疲れ様
I'm gonna say お疲れ様. Like in 5 minutes, I'm gonna say お疲れ様.
緊張するよね。
I went to the staff and I said, お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。And then I walked out like a like I'm proud. I made it. Like I'm part of the culture because I used only one word, but it made me feel so proud of myself. And because of that reward, I wanted to learn more. I wanted people to look at me and say like, Ari, you're so Japanese. That was my goal because I live in Japan.
You're curious, 超 curious.
Always.
You love Tokyo.
Love.
なんかもう you're in love with Tokyo みたいな。東京が大好きなんですよ。
そう。If you haven't noticed yet.
で、you try anyway. You might get shy or a little bit scared, but you just do it anyway.
I do it. そう。
それがね大事なのかなと思いました。すごいなって思うのは、本当初期の頃、全然日本語もまだみたいな時に地元のさ、 なんかのれんが破れててやってんだかやってないかみたいなわかんないさ、すごい小さい定食屋さんにさ頑張って一人で入ったんでしょ。
そうよ。
ドアの開け方がわからなかったんだよね。
そうよ、本当に。And everybody was looking at me. Oh my god, I want to disappear right now. But
どうにかなるもんね。
so if I don't try, like I would never learn from it. 定食屋さんね、that's a different story.
定食屋さんもそうだし、あとあれもラーメン屋さん行ってさ、味玉トッピングをしたかったんですよね。
あ、そうそうそう。
味玉トッピングしたかったんだけど、アリが同じ玉だから間違えて替え玉買っちゃった。
替え玉。
そう、替え玉買っちゃったんだよね、剣を。
そう。
でお願いしますって出したら麺が来た。これじゃないこれじゃない。エ
何これ
ッグみたいな。味玉って言ったら、そのスタッフさんがこれはね替え玉だよって言って、まあ無料でくれたらしいんですよ、その上に味玉を。
そう。
それもカルチャーじゃん。
そう、カルチャー。
めっちゃ。
And I was like, what? He gave me an egg for free? I made a mistake tonight.
でも he gave you because he knew that you tried じゃん。
Exactly.
So hard. 味玉だと思って買って味玉食べたいって出してくれたけど違ったから、いよいよ食べなってやってくれたこともpart of culture だから。それもエクスペリエンスだしね。
それも experience and like all of that adds up.
そうそうそう。
And if I wouldn't have tried to buy,
そうそうそうそう。
and I used like Google Translate or whatever,
そうそう。
I would have never remembered that.
そうだね。
The experiences, guys. And there's a lot of things that happen that I didn't include today, kind of like in episodes, because I found it more important for you guys to understand the general meaning of like living abroad. Most of you guys know me, so you know some episodes already, I guess, but feel free to like ask anything. Feel free to join my sessions or ask me on the learning journey anytime, and then we can have a thread about it.
アプリの
Yeah,
Learning Journey でしたっけ。
Learning Journey
アリのチャットルームとかナツのチャットルームもあるので、
you can write anything.
チャットしに来てください、ぜひ。Yeah, so if you guys have any questions or things that you want to tell us or anything, you can type it in the comments.
はい、日本語も大丈夫ですね。
日本語でもいいですし、英語でも大丈夫なんで、質問があるとか、じゃあ皆さんのカルチャーのこんな経験あったよっていうものでも何でもいいんですけど、何かあればコメントにぜひ書いてみてください。
Thank you so much, guys.
ありがとうございます。See you next week.
See you next week. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye. Trust me. Like being Japanese in Japan is a different experience than being a white foreigner living in Tokyo.